For some improvement from Rasmussen, it could be a little bit of an advantage for Eves to try to gain some points back. Our official flagman for the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, Aaron Likens, up on the starter stand. St. Louis native and resident. He's throwing the green flag to start this session. I've had the privilege of watching Aaron flag for over a dozen years now. First started in the karting ranks here in the St. Louis area. Central States Karting Championship, then ended up becoming the lead flagman of Superkarts USA, the major karting organization, the biggest race of the year and each year in Las Vegas, the SCUSA Super Nationals. Aaron's been the flagman of that event for many, many years. Of course, getting this opportunity to move into the Road to Indy and the NTT IndyCar Series, and we're all thrilled to watch what he's been able to do over the last number of years. Again, nice to have him back home here at Worldwide Technology Raceway, a St. Louis resident and native. So drivers rolling out on track to get things underway for this warm-up session. You got to think drivers up front, maybe just a little tweak. Was there anything they would have liked a little more in the car? Because of course they're not working on qualifying setups now. The grid already set. So how good is your race car to be able to go into that main event later on today? 55 lapper for the drivers in Indy Pro 2000. Again, green flag set to go to about 2:45. We'll start with driver introductions at 2:35. And for those of you who were tuning in yesterday, we have the video coverage up and running for today's action. All but the Indy Lights sessions from yesterday, audio only, as the IMS Productions crew getting their cameras set up for today's action. Very interesting racetrack here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. You'll get a lot of people that'll tell you this is almost like a road course with nothing but left-hand corners. That's what's so interesting about it. It's very different. Turn number 1 and 2, significantly tighter, a tighter radius than 3 and 4, but more banked. 11-degree banking in turn 1 and 2, 9 degrees over in 3 and 4, but a much wider arc. Passing opportunities here. Truly a better run out of turn number 2 to get down to the inside of turn number 3, and then you've got to really commit in 3, because the driver on the outside, if you're not all the way there, is going to come to from the top of the racetrack on the outside on the entry and dive down to the apex. We saw a lot of that last year. Braden Eves was battling it out with Stingray Robb, who ended up going to win the championship and now runs in Indy Lights, but Eves did everything he could to finally try to get away by Stingray Robb. At that point, Devlin DiFrancesco and the Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport machine have been able to pull away to score his first Road to Indy victory. One driver very slow coming down the front straightaway, and that caused a lot of drivers to scatter. Not sure which driver that was, but they were going top side, low side. This is a group of 4 drivers getting a feel for the draft right now. That's something you'll see these drivers do as well. Get a feel for what the draft's going to be like, how we're going to have in terms of aero wash when you're right up behind a guy coming into the corner. Those 4 drivers rocking it out of turn number 4 now. There they are here on the screen as they'll come out of 4 and down the straightaway. Looks to me like they're all lining up behind potentially the pole sitter, James Rowe. Now that's actually Christian Rasmussen out front. Last year's champion, as I said, in USF 2000, leading the points here as well. It's been a tremendous season so far for Christian. 6 wins in total on a number of different racetracks, actually. 5 different racetracks. 1 win at St. Petersburg, 2 wins on the road course at Indianapolis. He scored the victory in the Freedom 90 at Lucas Oil Raceway on the 5/8 mile oval. Then scored a 1 win at Road America, 1 win at Mid-Ohio. So he's been able to get a victory almost every weekend of the year. 39-point lead over Braden Eves, 52-point lead over Reese Gold, and a 56-point lead over Artem Petrov. I won't count out Hunter McElroy either. P5, 75 points back. Hunter's been very strong here throughout the week in testing. He could be a challenger up front. Didn't quite get the qualifying effort I expected out of Hunter. Back P5. He'll start on the inside of row number 5. One of the drivers that I've been kind of tabbing as the breakout star the midway through the season has been Jacob Abel in the Crosley Brands number 51 PM18. driver out of Kentucky. He's had a really good run over the last 5 or 6 races. 6th at Lucas Oil Raceway on the oval, then podium in 3rd at Road America, backed it up with a top 5 finish the next day, then 3rd again at Mid-Ohio, backed that up with a 6th place finish. So 3 podiums over the last 6 races for Jacob Abel in that Crosley machine, and you got to be impressed with how that team has kind of come together and focusing on getting everything dialed in from top to bottom. Veteran team manager John Bruner at the helm, and they've got some good engineering talent there as well. Kent Boyer lining things up for Jacob Abel to have a good finish to the end of the season. He qualified in 10th position, but I expect him to run a little bit better than that in the race here today. Again, all about gaining that experience you need, potential move up to Indy Lights next year or the year after. In comes the 51 right now, that Crosley Brands machine. A couple of the drivers ducking in. 13 in total, 1.25 miles around the racetrack here, so there's lots of room to play. If you want open racetrack, you can get open racetrack. If you want to get the feel of that draft, you can do that as well, teaming up with either a fellow teammate or another one of the drivers on track. We do have a couple of drivers here who are single car operations. Hunter McElroy with no teammate this weekend for Pabst Racing. Same goes with Jack William Miller. Same with Jacob Abel as well. Those drivers by themselves, so they'll have to team up for draft practice with another car. Definitely a warm one here. We do see the blue skies, which are nice. Obviously, all that forecast for rain overnight, but we have blue skies, and we are on track here right now. 84-degree ambient temperature. Humidity, and you can feel it if you're outside, 74%, what I'm being told here on the iPhone. So it's a muggy one for sure. I walked over from our paddock on the outside of turn number 2 and a little wet, a little sweaty on the way over, but nice to get up the stairs, which was tough in and of itself, and then into the air-conditioned booth, which is nice. McElroy back into pit lane in the number 18 machine. He is P1 on the racetrack right now, a 138.940 average mile per hour for McElroy, the driver out of New Zealand. New Zealand, Australia, and the U.S. American-born. Lives in New Zealand, spends a lot of time in Australia. I believe that's the line for Hunter McElroy. 2019 USF 2000 runner-up, a very impressive driver, one of the favorites in the paddock, Hunter McElroy, and a ton of talent as well. The most recent winner as well, coming off a victory at Mid-Ohio for Pabst Racing. Scored earlier in the year, the first weekend at Barber Motorsports Park. A little bit of a dry spell and some struggles for McElroy and Pabst Racing midway through the season, but laid it down at Mid-Ohio, and that's crucial because we have a doubleheader finale at Mid-Ohio on the first weekend of October. And if Hunter gets himself back into the championship contention with potentially a good racing during the triple header next weekend at New Jersey Motorsports Park, he may be back in the championship fight. And knowing that he's got pace at Mid-Ohio would put him in a contention position. Artem Petrov for Exclusive Autosport, driver out of St. Petersburg, Russia, currently in 2nd. Christian Rasmussen 3rd, point leader, qualified 7th for the race, so it'll be an inside row 4 start for Christian. Jay Howard, driver development pilot. Jack William Miller in the 4th spot. Braden Eves will start off pole in 5th. James Rowe Jr. for Turn 3 Motorsport, pole position in that number 3 machine, the Topcon Trintec sponsored car. The Irishman, his first career Indy Pro 2000 pole. 250 horsepower in these race cars. The carbon fiber tub designed by Tatis, the Italian manufacturer. The tub that we use in Indy Pro 2000, the same as the tub we use in USF 2000. That said, new cars coming for next year. Brand new tubs. The USF 22 and the IP 22 for Indy Pro 2000. We'll have the Halo type device installed onto our race cars next year. So new cars for both USF 2000 and Indy Pro. Hunter McElroy, 138.948 miles per hour. Track, I believe, silent right now. No, one driver still out. McElroy's actually gone back out onto the racetrack after a quick stop. Quick look up and down pit lane. You'll always see drivers, especially on the ovals, working on ride heights, working on potentially trim angles on the wings. Drivers always wanting that particular balance. James Rowe Jr. down the back straightaway, and I believe that is either Jack William Miller or potentially Jacob Abel tracking with him. Here they come out of turn 3. Indeed, it's the 51 Crosley car, as I said before, of Jacob Abel. James Rowe in the TopCon PM18 for Turn 3 Motorsports. Obviously, drivers all working on the race cars right now, not that single car, 2-lap, how fast can you go, how much can you trim out, how much can your driver hold on setup. This is more, let's take care of these Cooper tires. Let's see where we are going to be in the last 10 to 15 laps of this 55-lap event. Tough place to pass, but when you make that pass, it's all about getting through turn 2, getting that great run off the corner, taking advantage of this, the arrow, the draft down the back straightaway, making that move to the bottom of the racetrack, and then owning the apex and the entry into turn number 3. We'll see a lot of passes there. If we see any in mass here today, it'll be in turn number 3 or down into turn, of course, number 1. A lot of them, though, in turn number 3. I think easier to set up coming out of 2 because it's such a tough corner. I think 2 is a tougher corner to negotiate as a driver, getting through there and getting clean and getting good speed coming out, where turn number 3 is maybe a little more about bravery. 3 and 4, holding it flat, just rolling it through there. McElroy still P1. Christian Rasmussen's found some speed here. He goes to the 2nd spot, 138.748 miles per hour for your point leader. 6 wins on the season from 2 pole positions for Christian Rasmussen. Most poles actually young Reese Gold, just 16 years of age, out of Miami, Florida for Juncos Hollinger Racing in that green and white machine. Expect to see Reese Gold back at Indy Pro 2000 next year, and he will be a guy to watch. Started in USF 2000 at just 14, did 2 years there in USF 2000, was a race winner last year, moving up to Indy Pro this year, getting a feel for the car, the tracks, the high speeds here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Already 4 pole positions for the driver, the number 55, who rockets down into turn number 1 right now. You think of him coming back next year with that off season of testing, of maturity growth, just becoming a young man. He'll be 17 years of age next year. He is going to be so tough to watch because Reese is a tactician for sure, just so precise. Battled it out lap after lap at the end of the Freedom 90 with Christian Rasmussen, and maybe was a little too nice. That's one of the things about Reese, is he races with respect, races clean, and he probably could have got into Rasmussen and got into him a little bit, tried to bump and run, but that last lap kind of threw it in there. Rasmussen was defending pretty aggressively, but again, Reese Gold, I think, getting a lot of kudos and a lot of respect in the paddock as he raced Christian very, very clean. Rasmussen out of the top of the charts, fast lap, 139.070 for Rasmussen. McElroy in 2nd, Petrov 3rd, Eves 4th, Miller 5th. Nolan Siegel, talk about Nolan a little bit as time winding down in this session. About 7 minutes remaining in a 20-minute run for the warm-up for Indy Pro 2000. Nolan Siegel actually in the middle of his 3rd and final year in the USF 2000 program. But with an off weekend here for USF 2000 drivers, his D-Force Racing team said, hey, listen, we got an Indy Pro 2000 car. Maybe you can come to Worldwide Technology Raceway, get a head start on next year. That seemed like a good idea. Brought Corey Enders, a longtime D-Force driver, back as well. Corey on the outside of the front row and in the podium 2 years ago here at Worldwide Technology Raceway with D-Force. So Siegel's been really impressive. Rookie driver, of course. We'll see him likely a full-time season next year in Indy Pro 2000. Top 5 in practice yesterday. Qualified in the 8th spot, currently 6th. On the speed charts here in this warm-up, 137.712 miles per hour for Nolan Siegel. Practice yesterday morning, qualifying in the afternoon. A little warm-up here this morning. Full day of testing as well on Thursday. The drivers have had lots of track time here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. A really good feel for it, and that's what this program's all about. Really haven't talked too much about that yet. 3 levels to the road to Indy: USF 2000, Indy Pro, and Indy Lights. And as the drivers learn, of course, we try to teach them as much as we can, both in the car and outside the car as well. All the media work they do, social media, working with the engineers, working with the fans and the media. but also getting these drivers dialed into what they need to do to go NTT IndyCar racing. And as we all know, oval racing a big part of the IndyCar program. And in USF 2000, the drivers getting the one opportunity to take some oval racing experience, and that's at the Freedom 75 at Lucas Oil Raceway. Try to give them 2 races in Indy Pro. They run the Freedom 90 at Lucas Oil on the Carb Night Classic, plus they race here at Worldwide Technology as well. And in years past, of course, able to have 3 races for Indy Lights in the ovals to get them prepped for that final step up to IndyCar. In years past, it's been, of course, the Freedom 100 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We've also run Iowa Speedway here as well. Back in the day, we did Pocono as well. There's been a number of different oval tracks the drivers have done in Indy Lights. That's indeed why we're doing the double header here for Indy Lights. We want to give these drivers at least 2 full races on the oval. Ideally, we'll see an expansion of that for next year. And I know many people crossing their fingers and wishing the Freedom 100 would come back, and we feel the same. Just a fantastic race each and every year. One of the best races, I think, in the world every year because it's just so close, especially with our fields growing like they are. 13 drivers throughout the season this year. We have 12 drivers in the Indy Lights here this weekend at Worldwide Technology Raceway. And I'm expecting potentially 16 to 18 cars next year. Already one new team announced for Indy Lights, and that's TJ Speed with Tim Neff. Potential for 2 to 3 more teams coming on board before we start the discussion for 2022. So a lot of excitement surrounding Indy Lights for next year. Of course, with the Road to Indy program, I know a lot of people asking about the schedule. We kind of have to wait for things to get wrapped up with IndyCar because we run with IndyCar as much as we possibly can. The only real dates we're not with, of course, is at the Carb Night Classic on the same weekend as the 500, but not at the Speedway. And then, of course, doing a one-off standalone event at New Jersey Motorsports Park next weekend as well. Cancellation of Toronto certainly messed things up a little bit for us. We're going to wrap up our season at Mid-Ohio on the October 1st, 2nd, 3rd weekend. Just under 3 minutes remaining in this warm-up session for Indy Pro 2000. And indeed, Artem Petrov has worked his way to the top. Driver from St. Petersburg, Russia. 3rd year in the series, made a couple of starts back in 2019. Was definitely a contender and a race winner last year running for Juncos Racing. Now moving over to Exclusive Autosport and has blossomed this year. Scored a race win in the oval at the road course at Indianapolis, and has been real strong all told. Petrov really one of the stronger drivers over the last 4 rounds. 3 second-place finishes. Got involved in an incident in race number 2 and got an 11th place at Road America. But other than that, he's been on the podium. 3 second-place finishes in the last 4 starts, and looking pretty good here as well. He'll start P4, and this bodes well. 139.468 miles per hour. They put together a good race package for Artem Petrov. Rasmussen currently 2nd, Hunter McElroy 3rd, Jack William Miller, who has been strong here in pre-event testing, unofficial testing, and of course practice and qualifying. Yesterday, Miller in that Miller Vinatieri Motorsports number 40 in the 4th spot. He'll launch from the outside of row number 3 this afternoon. Again, green flag set to go for Indy Pro 2000 at 2:45 this afternoon. A couple hours later, 3:50 will be or 5:30 rather, a little dyslexia. 5:30 green flag for the second of the 2 Indy Lights races. Indy Lights race today is going to feature a pit stop midway through. We're going to run a 35-lap run at the start, throw the competition yellow, bring the cars in for a red flag, change right side tires, and send them back out for the final dash. So a 35-lap segment 1, 35-lap segment 2 for a 70-lap total battle. Drivers can put on 4 tires if they want during that session, but they're going to have to go to the very tail of the field and come from the back with fresh rubber. Otherwise, it's just right side tires. So essentially let them battle it out for 35 laps, restack the deck, and we'll see what happens in the second segment. Just 30 seconds remaining here. Artem Petrov still the fastest driver. Good opportunity for these guys to get out there and turn some laps. Interesting for me right now, James Rowe Jr. on the pole, but back in 12th right now on speed, 136.749 miles per hour. You wonder whether or not they're just kind of getting a feel for the race car, long run. He's done 28 laps. Yeah, right up there with the most drivers. 29 laps now. Prokachik at 30 laps. Eves 30. Rasmussen now 29, so it's not like he's not putting the laps down. James Rowe Jr., very quick 2-lap run yesterday to qualify on the pole. His first pole, as I said, in Road to Indy in Indy Pro 2000 competition. Right now in 12th. Checkered flag flying. This will end this session. Indy Lights drivers back on for their warm-up at 2:05 this afternoon. Definitely an interesting schedule for us. We're normally used to being on track quite earlier in the morning. 2:05, we'll see Indy Lights drivers out for their warm-up session. Another 20-minute warm-up for those drivers. Hunter McElroy ends up with a strong lap at the end, just pipping Artem Petrov. So Hunter McElroy in the Pabst Racing number 18 fastest driver, 139.913 miles per hour. Artem Petrov in second in the number 42, 139.468 miles per hour. 139 flat for Christian Rasmussen, 138.8 for Jack William Miller, and 138.5 for Braden Eves. Will start on the outside of the front row for the main event this afternoon. But again, Hunter McElroy, quickest driver. Warm-up session for the drivers here in Indy Pro 2000, clearing out the cobwebs from last night, getting a feel for these race cars after driving them for 2 laps in qualifying trim. We are back to race mode, race trim. And after this session, drivers, of course, will head back to the hauler, sit down with their engineers, pour over all the data, decide if there's any minor changes that they want to make to the balance of their race cars before we send them out for a 55-minute race later this afternoon. 2:45 scheduled green flag start for the Cooper Tires Indy Pro 2000 of St. Louis. Folks, thank you so much for joining us here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. You're in for a tremendous day of racing. A couple of events for our Road to Indy drivers, and of course, capping it all off with the Bommarito Automotive Group 500.